that the topic that he has chosen for this particular workshop, it doesn't go beyond 3 days actually, and if you continue to stretch it, there will be a number of repetitions, because when you are trying to develop MOOC or online massive course, the things that immediately comes to our mind is or are the platform that is to be used, the content that is to be generated, and the pedagogical issues that are to be complied with, and the manner in which it has to be rolled out. Okay, so in our day-to-day life as a teacher, very seldom we get a chance to develop an entire MOOC, because I had a talk with Dayada also, and I had a talk with a number of professors and other academicians, teaching on a day-to-day basis by using the online platform. Suppose we are supposed to deliver lectures, and we are supposed to teach our students by using this virtual platform on a day-to-day basis. So teaching on a day-to-day basis using an online platform and developing a altogether course which is designated as MOOC, we are two different and dimensionally opposite activities. Yes, there are some certain things which are very similar to each other, but when it comes to the overall articulation, the overall deliberation, designing, and rolling out the courses, these two things are totally different. And by this time, I'm sure that you have got enough inputs with regard to what are the facilities and infrastructure that government has created for us already, the ecosystem in particular that government has created for rolling out MOOCs. But unfortunately, if we take a look into the Swayam platform that the government of India, MHRD, has created, it becomes very difficult for each and every teacher to contribute something to that particular platform. So designing and developing something for the Swayam platform and getting it accepted and approved and being rolled out as an independent course whereby the credit can be transferred and added on to a CBCS structure, it is not a very regular kind of an activity. And you know that all over the country we have national resource centers, and there are national resource coordinators. They are in charge of designing these particular MOOCs, and then they are hiring the resource persons, and the resource persons are supposed to design the modules. And normally we have a 4-quadrant approach that you already, I guess, because every MOOC is supposed to follow that core 4-quadrant approach, and then the content development and the videographies, and then we normally post it on or upload it on the website. So in 2018, I got a chance to develop a MOOC under the coordinatorship of Professor Satish Chandra Bagri from Hembati Nandan Bahuguna University, Garhwal University, because his university was appointed as a national resource center, and he was appointed as a national resource coordinator for the tourism management area. So he asked me to develop 2 modules of 4 quadrant each. So I developed at that particular point of time 2 independent modules of a full course. And recently I have developed a course on entrepreneurship, because probably you know that St. Xavier's College of Kolkata has been acknowledged as a center of excellence by MHRD. And there is a separate division called EMMRC, and Professor Kartik Chandrapal is in charge of that. So under the undergraduate course, there is entrepreneurship skill enhancement. Under the skill enhancement course, they are introducing that entrepreneurship. So as a course coordinator, I have worked. So tomorrow I will show you that how you should approach if you get a chance to work as a course coordinator, or if you get a chance to work as a resource contributor to develop certain modules, how will you approach it? But today I want to just share you one thing. I do not agree with the point that I can teach something to the teachers. We can only share this platform and exchange our whatever knowledge we have gathered. And today I will take this particular session from the learner's perspective, because from the for the last 3 days, I suppose you have understood the instructor's perspective very well. So, what are the things the instructors can have, can access in the online platform, etc. And we need to know that. How learners are expecting the things to be offered to them particularly. So all of a sudden this particular online course from a very content driven kind of a thing, it has changed into a very learner centric kind of a thing. Initially, when we jumped onto this online platform as a teacher, we became very excited because now we can converge medias, now we can use the multimedia effects, now we can use the visuals and the videos and the texts together. We can converge things, we can create layers, multiple layers in a single content. So the scope was enormous, and with the advent of the social networks, we can actually network through these SNSs. So initially we got very excited, and probably this excitement actually compelled us to create something which was not very cohesive, and it was in bits and pieces, like fragmented information fragmentation, and we lost the narratives of the coherence, and somehow it did not go down well among the learners. I got feedback from my own students that there are certain over usage of this kind of multimedia techniques, which ultimately it did not justify the theory of learning in any way. So gradually there has been a shift from a content dominated online teaching approach or e-learning approach to a very learner centric approach, which will be basically based on co-creation activities where the learners can also participate in creating the content. Okay, so I will just take you through some presentation, and in between the presentation we will discuss, and at the end I will try to show a couple of hands-on things with the help of which you can make your presentation much more exciting. But to start with, I want to have an understanding that I am sure that most of you are doing it at this particular point of time because we do not have any other option. From March onwards, we simply do not have any other option but to access the online platform to teach. Now, if I go back to the pre-COVID times, I want to know from the teaching community who are attending this particular workshop, just tell me during the pre-COVID times, how many of you are actively engaged in online teaching, or at least some kind of an online collaboration or sharing process with your students or even with your peers, a research group if you are having. How well you were connected, and did you share anything online on a real-time basis in a pre-COVID time, not during the COVID time? You can write it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and say, so that we can have a clear understanding that how you migrated during this COVID time from the pre-COVID situation during the COVID time, when you are thrusted into this kind of a scenario where you did not have any other option either to adopt or face the problems. So is the transition very smooth, or is it very jerky? Because I know from my experience talking to many faculty members, this transition is a very jerky one.
Little bit of Sandy ma'am, please mute your system.
Okay, I have got one reply, and madam is saying that before COVID, I used to send important PPTs to the students Okay, by emailing for understanding. Okay, that is also using kind of a technology and getting connected with your students.
Good morning, Dr.
Uh,
Baksi.
yeah, good morning.
This is Shubhayu Chattopadhyay. I teach in History Department, Vishwabharati.
Mhm.
During pre-COVID era, actually, to be very frank, I used to send the references of some journal articles, sometimes some PPTs to my students, and I used to share some links with my colleagues. That's it,
Okay,
nothing more than that.
okay. I think that is no more or less that should be the reply for almost all of us probably, because in pre-COVID times, apart from using emails, or apart from using certain, say, recorded videos or recorded lectures that again we used to share with our students using our Google Drive. Apart from that, use of active LMS was almost absent. But if you compare this with the private universities, for example, I want to take names of two universities with whom I am very closely associated. One is the Munjal University, BML Munjal University, which has been established by the Hero Honda, the Hero Group, situated in Gurgaon. I used to visit every year from its inception in the year 2014. So 2014 itself, they developed their own ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning System, which has their own, LMS. So from that year onwards, they use the LMS for this online teaching. And the second university who is having actually a very robust kind of mechanism in terms of university sponsored ERP and LMS is the Amity University. And they have a device called Amazon. And on that particular platform, the teachers are supposed to feed in with contents in the form of, lectures, in the form of open courseware, course content, the PPTs, the shareable contents, the distributable contents, etc. So probably the public institutes, so the government universities, state universities, and central universities, they probably did not think about this kind of shift being taking place at a very higher level of knowledge delivery. So our adoption was very crude in nature. Once we faced this kind of disruption from March 2020 onwards, we were virtually thrusted, we are thrown into this particular ecosystem, and for some of us, it became very difficult to adjust. Okay, but again, on that note, if you see in the pre-COVID times, how many platforms actually we had. Nobody heard about Zoom at that particular point of time, or even they heard about Zoom, they did not know how to use it. Nobody heard about Cisco WebEx. Okay, very few of us heard about and used actually the Google Meet and the Google platform. Then probably you have seen the Airtel Blue Jeans coming into the picture. So these are the platforms which have arrived and which have boomed during this 7 to 8 months. So the transition is not very smooth for most of us. Okay, and the moment we jumped onto this particular platform, we are at a sea. So what should we do then? There is a conflict between the faculty of arts, who thought we are technologically much more challenged compared to the faculty of engineering and technology and science, who they presumed and apprehended they are much ahead of us in terms of using this platform and synchronizing every technological parameters with their teaching learning process. So in the initial period, we had a number of training programs, number of workshops, and still it is continuing, as it is evident from this particular program. So this is the scenario. So under this present scenario, I hope that each and every one of us, at least, we are actually conducting classes, online classes, rather than developing a full-fledged kind of a course. We are conducting regular classes. So that's a good sign. So that's, you can say, the first step towards developing an independent course. Okay, so let me take you through a quick presentation. At the end, I will just show you 2 or 3 hands-on things with the help of which you can make your content much more rich and learner-centric in nature, whereby, our fundamental posit that there has to be the scope of co-creation, because learners these days are very smart, and learners these days are very, you can say self-guided in nature. In an online platform, it has to be like that only. So engagement or engaging the learners, because this is my practical experience that I have seen, and many teachers have also told me that we are seeing that on the screen, that so many people are hooking in or logged in my particular classroom. We are using Google Classroom. I particularly personally use the Canvas LMS. So I can see that out of 60 students in my class, almost 55 on an average, say 50 to 55 students are logged in at a particular point of time. But since we are infrastructurally crippled to allow each and everyone to join the class with their videos, because the bandwidth will be an issue and the streaming will be an issue, most of them are muting their videos and their audio. So it's very difficult for a teacher, individual teacher, to be absolutely sure that on the other part of other end, whether the students are actually listening to them or actually going through the presentations or the the learning process, etc. Unless and until you make the content engaging enough to hold your students. So one of the issues that we deliberated upon initially is how long will be a particular interaction period. So there were debates, and we fall back to the models that are followed by the Nptel and NITTR Chennai. They have developed several models, and they said that not more than 25 to 30 minutes. Now, we are habituated of delivering lectures in the class of a minimum period of 50 minutes. And if we are allotted 2 consecutive classes in the same semester, we are supposed to continue for almost 2 hours with a, say, 10 minutes intermittent break. So all of a sudden, converting that kind of a time span and squeezing it into a very enriched content delivery of, say, 30 minutes, 35 minutes, it is a big ask. It is a big challenge. So we decided to create classes of 45 minutes duration, with 40 minutes net content delivery and 5 minutes of interaction. Later on, it was again revised of 35 minutes of classes and 10 minutes of interaction. So these are, again, as I can say, is on experimental mode, and we haven't identified yet the exact kind of a model that will ensure a very good teaching learning process, or a very good learner-centric orientation, will give very good learner-centric orientation. Anyway, let us just go through the presentation, and we can discuss. So you just so uh, Sorry for the technical issue. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, so just taking you through this particular presentation, and when we while we speak, we can interact. Is the slide visible?
Actually, we are looking
No,
at
sir.
that Google Meet only. We are you are starting a Google Meet
We are
again.
seeing the
We are not seeing
screen.
any presentation.
It's
Okay,
the Google Meet
so
joining link that we are seeing.
okay. Can you see it now?
Yeah, now it's
It's visible, sir. Yes. Okay.
Okay, so this is roughly the topic that I have put for today's discussion, transcending content through the learning sciences. Learning sciences basically is a concept that has come to play ever since this advent and emergence and growth of this online, content distribution. And our basic objective is to design a learner-centric MOOC. So over the last 3 days, probably you have gone through all these things. So I will be very fast, just discussing about the evolutionary path of MOOCs. So it all started in the year 2000 with the help with the formation of Alliance for Lifelong Learning by Oxford, Yale, and Stanford University. And in the year 2001, David Wiley of Utah State University, he designed a particular course. Basically, what David Wiley did is he offered his entire course, the syllabus of his entire course in the form of online course. Then we all know that in the year 2002, one of the best online open courseware system came to play when MIT introduced their open courseware system. But again, it was not to that extent supported the audiovisual content maximum. To the maximum it supported the textual content. Then in the year 2006, Stanford Online. Now, in the global perspective, two universities, those are very much, you can say, pioneer in introducing these online, pedagogy and online, teaching learning process. Are one of them are MIT. One of them is MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and the second one is Stanford Online. But in 2008, there is a major change with the introduction of CCK08 in 2008. And two gentlemen who are basically responsible for this are Professor Stephen Downes and Professor George Simmons. Now, I would recommend to everyone that you should go through the articles and the write-ups and the blogs of George Simmons, because George Simmons is now considered as to be almost a father-like figure when it comes to MOOC development. So for the first time in 2008, George Simmons and Stephen Downes, they focused on the connectivist kind of a MOOC, where connectivism and connective knowledges were, focused. And, in CCK08, the model was like this. The learners worked with distributed the content using multiple technology features. They use one particular thing, which is very popular these days, which is called content aggregation. And we often talk about content aggregators. There are a number of content aggregators which are widely available over the internet. Then we talk about the wikis. They used wikis for the first time, and they used it in collaboration with the course content. And then there were the web-generated information, which is also, again, nowadays a very useful web-generated information. And nowadays, along with this, CCK08 web-generated information, we are using another thing, when it comes to social networks is called the UGC, the user generated content, which is another most vital thing when it comes to content delivery. And for the first time, Professor Downs and Professor Siemens, they provided certain additional resources to the students. So what were those additional resources? They provided them with additional readings. They provided them with the web links or web referrals, and they provided them with the audio summaries. Now, if you take a look into the 4-quadrant approach of Indian MOOC system, which is prevailing now, one of the 4 quadrants talks about these referrals. One of the quadrant talks about this readings, this web references, web links and readings. Then at that time, audio summaries were very important. Nowadays, we are having the video lectures or the video content. So one of the 4-quadrant approach is always about this audio summaries and video summaries. So back in 2008, it was kind of a revolution when Professor Downs and Siemens they introduced this kind of a system which went one step ahead of what was created by Stanford University. But again, back in 2011 and 2012, again, Stanford University came to the picture, particularly because of 2 professors. One is Professor Sebastian Thorn, and one is Peter Novi. They actually developed for the first time introduction to artificial intelligence. They designed a particular course, and 160,000 learners registered in that particular course, and 20,000 of them actually completed that particular course. So given that particular time and given the kind of course that has been created, that was created by Thorn and Novi, that was a huge success. Although 160,000 registered for that course, ultimately going through a funnel process of evaluation, assessment, etc., 20,000 of the learners actually could complete the course. Then in 2012, actually, we had the biggest outburst of what we now know as the MOOCs platform. And because in 2012, Professor Thorn created Udacity. Probably you have heard about Udacity by this time. Udacity is one of the platforms based on which the online courses are being rolled out in 2012. 2012 saw the birth of EDX. EDX, if you are taking online education from most of the IIMs in India, particularly IIM Bangalore, they are collaborating with EDX. So EDX is one of the online platforms through which, the courses are being rolled out. And probably you also know that one of the latest developments in the online course content development and rolling out the course is taken up by a particular organization by the name Upgrade. So Upgrade, I can give you one example like MICA, the Mudra Institute of Communication in Gujarat. They have collaborated with Upgrade to deliver some courses, and those courses are really content rich in nature. So in 2012, it was like a plethora of these online platforms emerging. So we saw the birth of Udacity, we saw the birth of EDX. In 2012 itself, we saw the birth of Coursera. We saw the birth of OpenHPI. We saw the birth of FutureLearn. So many, online platforms coming together and creating that kind of environment or an ecosystem. So what about India? So India did not lag far behind. In fact, when all these things were happening in 2009 itself, IIT Bombay, they devised one particular program, train 10,000 teachers. That was a project called T10KT project, whereby the instructors were trained, how to deliver online courses, how to design online courses, how to deliver on the online platform, how to use the multimedia technologies, how to use the online platform, etc., and how to connect with the learners. and the pedagogical features. And next big thing that happened in India is, of course, the national program of technology enhanced learning, that Nptel, where most of the IITs and IISc Bangalore came together, collaborated, and they could frame this thing. So this was the evolution of the online or e-learning processes that was happening worldwide as well as in India. But at the same time, this is from the practitioner's point of view, what was happening at the delivery level, at what was happening at the infrastructural level, what was happening at the collaborative level, like the universities collaborating with the intermediary platforms, the intermediary platforms emerging, they are collaborating with the higher educational institutes in developing and delivering the courses, etc. So it was happening at the infrastructural level, operational level, and the functional level. But what was happening at the research level, because ever since this particular thing started, the research focus also shifted from the traditional teaching learning process to this online on this virtual kind of teaching learning process. So in 2013, these are four most prominent research over the last 1 decade or so. There are plenty of others, but you can refer to these. In 2013, Doug Clow of Open University, United Kingdom, he attended one conference, Learning and Analytics, and he presented one paper on this MOOCs and funnel of participation. And in the funnel of participation, he pointed out to the fact of the problem of attrition. The problem of attrition basically touches this particular area that we have discussed already. Suppose in a course, 1,000 people is getting registered. Suppose you are offering a course whereby 1,000 people is registering, and at the end of the course you find only say 10 or 20% is completing that particular course. So if it is say 20%, so it will be roughly a very low figure. So now the question is, why this huge number of attrition taking place? The basic idea of Doug Clow, he opened a can of worms at that particular point of time, pointing out to this huge rate of attrition. Okay, then one of the major research work was done by Gerard Fisher in the year 2014, when he published one paper in the journal Distance Education, volume 35, issue 2, Beyond Hype and Underestimation, Identifying Challenges for the Future MOOCs. So that was a particular issue which was focused by Gerard Fisher, and he was very apprehensive about this MOOC phenomena, that whether it is all hype and no performance. And he was, identifying the challenges which is behind this delivery of particular MOOCs. And he identified two major problems. One is it is more focusing on learning about the agendas rather than transferring the content. And number two, inadequate attention on existing research on pedagogy. So there are two vulnerabilities or two lacuna or two drawbacks of the MOOCs which were delivered at that particular point of time. One is over focus on the agenda specific teaching and learning content, and inadequacy of that pedagogy. Because initially, when we approached this online platform, we came with a mindset of using that physical platform. So what we used to do in the physical platform, many of us actually try to replicate it on the online platform, which we simply cannot do, because these two platforms comes with two different kind of ecosystem altogether, two different kind of learner-centric demand altogether. So if we try to fit this physical classroom ambience, physical classroom demand into this online classroom demand and online classroom pedagogy, it will not fit. So that was the issue which was pointed out by Gerard Fisher. And very specifically, he said that from the learner's point of view, he said there is absence of stimulation to critical thinking. So the learners were not allowed to think very critically. So these are all about the engagement issues. The learners were not aroused and motivated to think deeper, and the learners were not allowed to, converge on diverse views. So that was Gerard Fisher's observation about the MOOCs which were, delivered at that particular point of time. Then in 2015, Margarayan, Bianco, and Littlejohn, these three researchers from Glasgow Caledonian University, they evaluated actually 76 random MOOCs using the instrument they have only created based on the best practices of online learning at that particular point of time. And they found that the major problem was lack of good instructional design. So it is very synchronous with the finding of what Gerard Fisher found in the year 2014. So the instructional design was never learner-centric. It was almost focusing totally on the agendas and the content, over-focused on the content, how much we can deliver. As I have said during the conversation time at the beginning of this deliberation, that when we approached the online medium for the first time, we were very much excited with the possibilities because everything we can converge, everything, a whole lot of things we can use. But while doing so, probably the issue of how the learner want to be guided by an instructor, that went missing. Now, interestingly, there was an experimentation done by Katie Jordan of Open University, United Kingdom, whereby he tried to understand the completion rate of the MOOCs, and the completion rate were analyzed against other variables, namely the course length and the assessment type. And this particular research was carried out in the United Kingdom itself. And you can see this is the completion rate of the MOOC when it was plotted in the chart. So on the x-axis, we are plotting the number of students who are enrolled, and in the y-axis, we are plotting the percentage completed. And if we take a sample size of n, say greater than 10,000, we what Katie found, Katie Jordan found, that only 5 to 10% of the entire enrolled students, they could actually finish the course. So you see the concentration is maximum over here. Okay, and it is not going beyond a certain level when we go for a number which is well over 10,000. The enrollment number is well over 10,000. But again, there is a counter argument and a counter view to this, that okay, when you are offering a course, there may be a number of people who may be interested in applying to this particular course, but eventually they may withdraw due to unknown reasons, and there can be enough number of unknown reasons. But with a 10,000 enrollment, if the course is completed by at least 10%, say 1,000 people, that's not a very small number. 1,000 students completing a course successfully is not a bad number at all. So this brings us to the overall problems that were identified from the learner's point of view. One, which is lack of connect. And when we say it is a lack of connect, it is with the future engagements. Because when we talk about lack of connect, whatever courses we are delivering, or whatever things we are trying to impart to the students, are they connected with their future possible engagements in their professional zones? So on the one hand, the instructor has to keep in mind or keep in view what are the evolutions or taking place, what are the growth taking place in the professional domain or in the job domain or in the industry, and what course we are delivering. I can just give you one example. Since I belong to the management fraternity, when we design syllabus in our syllabus committee, apart from the teachers and the subject experts, we are having 5 representations from the industry. Because when we are designing a syllabus, we can design a syllabus from the academic point of view, from the research point of view, from all the subject experts. They can only think from a single dimension, all academics, all theoretical in nature. But if we are not allowing a very 360-degree kind of a view of the syllabus, once the student is going in their job field, in the professional field, they find that it becomes a very difficult to actually make a connection. And what happens in that particular point of time, most of the students have to take certain additional courses, and they have to spend additional money to take up those courses, simply to bridge up with their academic knowledge with the industry demand. So that is the lack of connect. So as an instructor, when I am developing a particular course, like for example, I said that I have developed a course for the Swayam portal on behalf of the St. Xavier's College on entrepreneurship. So when I am developing a course on entrepreneurship, I cannot teach a person to become an entrepreneur. Rather, I can actually impart some knowledge to an aspiring student. If you become an entrepreneur, these are the opportunities and scope. This is the ecosystem that the government has provided. These are the funding opportunities. These are the venture capitalists you can connect with. These are the incubation centers. If I cannot connect the student with these peripherals, that particular course doesn't carry any meaning. So that is one of the problems that has been identified, that learner, they feel that there is a lack of connect what is rolled out to them in terms of the courses or online, or in terms of the content, and how it is actually connected with their future engagements, particularly keeping in mind the professional engagement in future. Then the lack of constructive feedback, that is a very essential thing when you are going for an online teaching. Even for the classroom teaching, physical classroom teaching, we normally go for feedback, but again, a feedback is a very hush-hush kind of a thing in most of the institutes, higher educational institutes. It's happening like that. But in an online platform, a constructive feedback on behalf of the learner is almost a must. It should come to make your content much more enriching and much more learner oriented. Then there can be certain intellectual challenges because in most of the cases we have seen a number of courses which are discarded on the Swayam platform, use of too much of technological term without explaining them properly. See, intellectual challenge, how it may come, the problem of how can I put it, say for example, you are telling to a particular customer that our refrigerator does not contain any the GHGs or the greenhouse gases. It doesn't emit any. Our refrigerator does not use CFC. Now that particular customer doesn't know anything about CFC, so he or she is intellectually challenged. So when you are trying to sell something, when you are trying to deliver something to these intellectually challenged group of people who are actually your listeners, who are actually your students, who are actually your audience, that particular problem has to be sorted out at the very beginning. So what I am actually teaching, if it uses too much of technicalities, technical terms, those things have to be very clear to the group of learners. Otherwise, use of too much of technical terminologies may hamper this entire content delivery. Lack of connect to authentic context. Most of the teachers, they do not connect whatever theoretical aspects they are talking about, the theoretical frameworks, the theoretical models. They are not connecting with what is the application part of those theories in either in our society or in the industry. So if you are teaching some engineering dynamics in some of the engineering classes, theoretical part, if you cannot connect it with what is happening in the industry, it becomes very difficult. Similarly, in case of social sciences, if you are delivering certain theory on behavioral science, and if you cannot connect it with the behavioral pattern of a particular geodemographic or socio-demographic group of the society, it becomes very meaningless. So that particular lack of connect or to the authentic context is very much required when we are actually developing a learner-centric kind of a thing. Now, as I was telling you, this is a stat that I have taken from the World Economic Forum. It is talking about the future of job kind of a survey. Now, if you see here at the very top area, see the area that assumes the topmost position in the future job market is about the cognitive abilities of the of the workers or the employees. So a 52% kind of job that will be requiring the cognitive abilities. Now, if you come down to the farthest point, if you come over here, you see the physical abilities, which is diametrically opposite to that of the cognitive abilities, is about 31%. So, as I was talking in one of the findings of Professor Gerard Fisher, what he found in his research, that there is an absence of critical thinking, there is an absence of deeper thinking, there is an absence of coherence of diverse views or convergence of diverse views. So we as an instructor are not designing our instructions in such a manner that it can instigate or stimulate a critical thinking. It can stimulate a deeper thinking, and it can actually allow the learner to converge diverse views from different sources. So cognitive abilities, as a teacher, we are focused on developing the cognitive abilities of the student. Cognitive science has emerged in a big way. So that's our basic focus. As an instructor, I should be designing we should be designing our content in such a way so that it should be thought provoking, and it should stimulate the learner to go for a very critical analysis of the content and try to correlate that particular content from the other source and enrich it. That's why I told you that one of the issues in very good teaching learning ecosystem on the online platform is the possibilities and the scope to co-create. This co-creation can come from the peer group if you are collaborating with the peer group, and this co-creation can come from the peripheral students who are logged in with you through this online mode. So it can only happen if your content becomes very learner-centric in nature, which can actually stimulate critical thinking and actually allow the student to draw, analogous sources from different, web-based sources and integrate them with the content that you have delivered, making it much more enriched. Okay. Now, talking about teaching and learning, we have talked a lot about the learning theories. Probably you have also gone through a lot of learning theories. So we are not going into the details of the learning theories, but learning theories are so very important and guidelines for us actually, which can guide us to create something which is very content rich and learner centric in nature. See, initially we all spoke about the LMS, the learning management system, and most of the universities by this time are having their own LMSs, or we are using certain third party LMS like Google Classroom, or we are using Canvas, and we are using the open source LMS like Moodle, which has become very popular these days. Canvas, to a certain extent, it is free, but it is not open source, so that is an LMS. Then we have Google Classroom, or the universities like Amity and this Munjal and Thapar and a lot of private universities, they have their own enterprise resource system with the help of which they are having their own LMS. So the learning theories that can guide us to create content on these platforms. So we normally focus on theories like behaviorism, the classical conditioning, and the general learning the school learning, the constructivist theory that we all, the theoretical base that we are having, the schema, etc. Okay, then we have the learning styles, which are very important to know how learners they actually learn. And in the learning styles, most of us have gone through the Honey-Mumford model. Okay, in a Honey-Mumford model, we actually have 4 different kinds of learners. Learners which are who are very active, they are activists. Then we have reflectors. Then we have theorists and pragmatists. So 4 different kind of learners. Then we have a neuro-linguistic kind of a programming model, which basically focuses on visual, auditory, reading, and kinesthetic. Now, this neuro-linguistic is very closely related with this online teaching learning process. So, as an instructor, one should be very thorough with this kind of learning styles. Otherwise, developing a content, how the content is to be delivered and how the learner will be grasping and absorbing that particular content, that particular thing will be difficult to visualize. So in a neuro-linguistic programming model, the visual, the auditory, the readings, and the kinesthetics, these 4 are very important. Then we have a personality trait-based learning model, which is very famously known as the Myers-Briggs model. We know that extrovert, introvert, and sensors, intuitors, thinkers, feelers, judges, perceivers. So there are different kind of learner attitudes are there, learner personalities are there. And then we have the Kolb's learning style model. We have a diverger, then assimilator, converger, accommodator, etc. So, your student basically is falling under any one of these categories. You need to identify what kind of audience or what kind of students you are actually addressing to, and try to design your course in such a manner so that it becomes very easy for them to actually absorb, assimilate, and then can build up from that particular content. But we are focusing these days on a particular model, which is the Felder-Silverman model. And this has a very close relationship with the e-learning process, because this Felder-Silverman model can be closely connected with Edgar Dell's cone of experience. So when I am designing something for the online, particularly the online content, the learning styles can be segregated into a bipolar continuum. Say, for example, on the extreme left-hand area, you will find that the learning styles, either it can be visual or it can be verbal. It can be active or reflective. It can be sensing or intuitive. It can be a very sequential kind of learning or a global learning. So learning styles of your learners has to be identified. Okay. Then the definitions of the style, the characteristics of those learning style, and which technologies are to be involved in tapping those styles. Like, for example, if it is a very verbal kind of learning style, a number of higher educational institutes, they are offering the podcasts alongside the videocasts. Like, for example, the IIM Bangalore, when they're using the EDX platform for delivering the online lectures, because when we talk about online, the first thing that comes into our mind is, what about the visuals, the lectures? Okay, so what is happening on the screen? So everything has to be connected with our optical senses, but it is not like that. If your learner wants to get something which they can hear and they can remember and they can reproduce, anything which is verbal in nature, podcast or audio recording can be used, and IIMs are using that. Okay. So if you have a very sequential kind of learning style, you can go for ebook and audio. If you have a very global kind of learning style, very comprehensive kind of learning style, we can use the web blog, you can use the wiki, the emails, because as I have discussed at the very beginning of this particular session, most of the teachers are using, in the pre-COVID time, we are using the email. So basically we are addressing very unknowingly one of the learning styles of the Felder-Silverman model, that is a global learning style. So when we are connecting with our students with email, now there is a technique which is called a harvested email, with the help of which you can send thousands of emails at a time with the help of a single content and with the click of a single button. So these things are part of a particular learning style, which is called a global learning style. When I'm connecting with email, again, when I'm connecting with my students with say email, or say forums, certain discussion forums, certain chats, like we are having WhatsApp these days, those are basically the active style of learning. So in an active style of learning, we are having all these simulation kind of things, problem solving kind of exercise, discussions, role plays, brainstorming, the experimentations, behavioral experimentations, questions and answer, quizzing. So all these are characteristics of a very active learning styles. Now, why I have said that this Felder-Silverman model is very much aligned with the e-learning system, it is because it can be much more clarified with the help of this Edgar Dall's cone of learning experience. And if you come gradually at the bottom from the top, you can see that people generally remember and people are able to. So this is basically what is happening at the cognitive domain, this particular part, what is happening at the cognitive domain. And so over here, this is what is happening in our cognitive domain, and this is what is happening at the behavioral area. Okay, so there has to be a synchronization between this cognitive domain and the behavioral area. Whenever we are designing anything, this cognition has to be reflected in their behavior. So people generally remember 10% of what they read, 20% of what they hear. So these are the two basic things, what they read and what they hear. So what they read and what they hear, if these two are cognitive actions, they can actually be able to define, they can actually be able to describe, they can enlist, and they can explain to a certain extent. 30% of what they see. So over here, your auditory sense is prevailing, your optical sense is prevailing, but optical sense is actually restricted to the textual parts. So 30% of what they see, 50% of what they see and hear both, like view images or watch a video, attend exhibit and sites, watch a demonstration. So if this is the cognitive thing that they are going through, then they will be able to demonstrate, they will be able to apply, they will be able to practice. Then 70% of what they say and write, they say and they document, they present and they document. Participation in hands-on workshop, that is one of the example. Design collaborative lessons, that is one. So collaboration and hands-on, these two are big issues these days in online teaching learning process. So 70% of what they say and write through hands-on workshop and through collaborative lessons, they are in a stage to analyze, they can design, they can create. That's where we talk about the co-creation possibilities. And they can evaluate. That's where we talk about the constructive feedback. Okay, they can evaluate the instructor, evaluate the content forwarded by the instructor. And 90% of what they do, they simulate or model a real experience, design, perform presentation, do a real thing. All these things also help them to analyze, to design, to create, and evaluate. So ultimately, as an instructor, my objective with my learners will be, they will be able to analyze. And if I go back to what Gerard Fisher probably identified, that there is a lack of critical thinking. Critical thinking basically means they could not analyze things, design things, then co-creation, creating things, and then they can evaluate that constructive feedback. So this is Dale's cone of learning experience, and we know how to design our courses by this particular point of time. At this point, we know what things can be embedded in our content so that it makes our learner think critically, design, and a deeper thinking, and it can create, it can collaborate, it can converge several things, and then can evaluate. So either we can go for hands-on workshop, there has to be a lot of demonstration, designing a collaborative lesson, simulate a model or a real experience whereby we use a number of case studies, which are modeled case studies, not only the real life case studies, because real life case studies will only give you an example. But when you are creating a simulated case studies, that creates, a simulated model for them to actually engage in analysis and design and perform presentation, which is actually a doing particular thing. Now over here, considering all the theoretical part, like the learning theories, the learning styles, and these learning experiences, these have converged and these have emerged into something what we call today as the learning science. So learning science, if we put things into perspective, is an interdisciplinary field that works to further scientific, humanistic, and critical theoretical understanding of learning, as well as to engage in design and implementation of learning innovations and the improvement of instructional methodologies. You can easily now correlate what the professors and the researchers of Glasgow Caledonian University found way back in 2015. They pointed out that the major flaw in the existing MOOCs at that particular point of time was a lack of good instructional design. So one of the areas that was identified by learning sciences to be improved is the instructional methodologies, which needs to be more learner-centric. So we have future models, models for future, and we are having present models also, which are called the LCMs, or the learner-centric models. So over here, two important issues are very, two issues are very critical for us, the instructors. One is these learning innovations, and the second one is the instructional methodology. So how innovatively we can put forward a learning content, and how the instructional methodologies can roll out these innovations in the learning content. So if we compare between the traditional courses, which is very much sequential in nature, and it follows a very routinized kind of alignment. What we used to do is to go for a lecture or a content, and then certain activities are to be performed, and then certain assessment are to be given, and then certain credentials or credit to the students. That is a very linear kind of instruction timeline that we follow in the physical classroom. But when we one step into the online classroom with a lot of flexibility in place and a lot of connectivity in place, what we now recognize as the connective knowledge, it follows a very oscillating kind of learning path. Now, the word oscillation here means actually refers to iteration, going back and forth. It doesn't follow a very linear kind of a synchronous path. Since it is networked, it can go across these networks to collect knowledge, and can develop the existing knowledge. It's like almost like a snowballing. That's why I talked about the co-creation. The creation of the instructor is subject to get enriched by the participation of the learners. So the knowledge creation, etc., comes to play, and the trajectory entirely changes. Now, the learner-centric MOOC design, what are the specific learner-centric MOOC design or elements of the learner-centric MOOC design? The first one is the learning dialogue. The second one is learning by doing. Second one, learning. A third one is learning extension trajectories, and the fourth one is learner experience interaction. I will take up all these three things tomorrow, four things tomorrow, and try to be elaborate about this. But if I ask this particular question at this particular time to most of the teachers, that out of these four exercises, which are the exercises that you followed during the normal classroom teaching? Okay, say learning dialogue, learning by doing, learning extension trajectories, and learner experience interaction. And so most of us will say on the left hand side, which is a traditional learning model, we say, okay, we gave lectures and demos. We offered assignments and activities to our students. We often, to a certain extent, okay, we motivate and encourage discussion forums, the group activities, brainstorming, role plays, etc. And okay, every one of us, they deliver additional materials or additional inputs at some point of time or other. Now, if that is to be converted to an LCM, see, the lectures and demos are converted to the learning dialogues or the LEDs. Okay, the assignments and activities are learning by doing, the LBDs. The discussion forums, the learner experience interaction, the LXIs, and the additional materials that are used to provide a learning extension trajectories, the LXTs. As I have told you, how to design an LED, how to design the LBDs, the LXIs and LXTs, that I will discuss tomorrow in detail, so that it becomes very easy for you to address to these issues whenever you are developing a standalone MOOC. Okay, so these will be very helping guideline to design a MOOC, not your day-to-day classes or syllabus-oriented classes. But when you are developing a MOOC, you are developing an entire course. So over there, you will be requiring these criteria. So we will discuss it tomorrow in tomorrow's session. So now that we have an idea about this learner-centric content development or for MOOC, so what are the elements that have to be there? So we know that content has an all-pervading presence while designing a MOOC. So two aspects of the content creation. One is how rich the content is and how stylized the content is, because you need to engage your audience, you need to engage your students. Okay, so with the richness of the content and stylizing your content so that they are drawn to your content and stay attuned to, engaged with that particular content. Now, this is a very primary guideline. We normally say it as the 5 W's of content. Who is the audience? Who is the learner? So learner's profile becomes very critical when you are designing a learner-centric content. What is it you are trying to deliver? What exactly? Put it in perspective, put it in various contexts, make it a very network kind of a presentation. Where you are placing it, at what level, when you are rolling it out, and why. Actually, you should be very much sure about the objective of delivering such kind of a course. How does it impact? How does it existing skill sets? Suppose you offer a class on blockchain or internet of things. Okay, it exists, it enriches. If you offer a course on Python, it enriches their programming concept. If you're offering a course on say entrepreneurship or social innovation, it enriches their overall knowledge, whatever they are having with regard to entrepreneurship and innovation. So these 5 W's of content are basically the primary guidelines for an instructor for whom I am making the course, what the course is all about, where I am placing it, when I am rolling it out, and why. So why this course has been designed. So when we are designing our syllabus, earlier we used to follow one exercise. We only place the course content. Okay, but nowadays, when under the CBCS structure, and the UGC also and AICTE also makes it almost mandatory, when we are designing a course, at the very beginning, the course objectives has to be clarified, the learning outcomes have to be clarified. So So your objective and learning outcomes have to be are to be very synchronous with each other, and these two things must be reflecting in your course content or the actual syllabus content, and that particular syllabus content should be guided by a series of references or a series of supportive materials. So these two things we should keep in mind. Two aspects of the content creation: how rich your content is in terms of the content itself, in terms of visual, in terms of textual content, in terms of added contents, and how you are putting forward your content. Okay. Now, the role of visuals, two things we will be discussing. And as I have told you, I will try to show you two hands-on exercise by the end of this particular class so that you can use it. The role of visuals in learner-centric content designing. So visuals are very pervasive in today's media-rich society. As I have told you that when we got an opportunity to roll out something on the online platform, we became so much excited because all the multimedia tools are available with us. We can access several things, several media. We can converge. You can club. So it is a very media-rich society in both our work and leisure activities. Any piece of content holds immense potential of conveying lots of information effectively through the use of the visuals. And actually, the visual can tell stories. Okay, one of the learner engagement is how precisely you can use the still graphics and the motion graphics. But again, there is a very thin line between use and overusage. Okay, so that you have to decide. So the visual rhetoric refers to the way the visual features of a message communicate. These features include not only photos or drawings, charts, graphs, and tables, but also, different fonts and colors, the placement of the text on a page, and even paragraph length and use of the headings. Nowadays, we can use the multi-layered visuals. So how the multi-layered visuals are, I can just give you one demonstration. This is the concept of a multi-layered visual. Say, for example, a particular teacher is using a visual. Say, this is the original photograph in his or her content. Okay. So this is the original photo or original pic or original, say, graphic. Okay. Now, if I want to use another graphic, another picture, which is equal in size, suppose this picture takes the entire slide and it needs to be placed in an entire slide. So if I want to use another picture or another graphic, what I have to do, I have to create another slide. So the number of slides increases. And again, the eyeball movement of the learner from one particular slide, he will or she will be compelled to move his concentration from one particular slide to another. So instead of doing this, can I make this particular picture or graphical representation multi-layered in nature, so that there will be one picture, that's the initial picture, then there can be certain other pictures within this. So if I click on this particular picture, it will assume this particular shape. If I click on this particular thing, it will assume this particular shape, so that I need not compel my student to open another slide, proceed for further slides, go to another window and check it, what is happening. This is number one. And number two, suppose I am having so if I can just remove all these things. So if I can do it like this, say, for example, I can draw a fundamental picture, say a fundamental image. This image tells a lot about what the image is all about, or what is the lesson I want to teach. Then probably I can give a tab over here which talks about the text involved in this image. Then I can use another tab over here, which is a video about this image. Then I can use another tab over here, which can further use certain, certain graphical elements, certain charts, etc. Any blog site, any web page like Wikipedia. Can I do this? So this is also a kind of a multi-layered kind of a presentation. This is the primary layer. These are the secondary layers. So that again, a particular student or a learner, when he or she is in a single presentation mode, he or she can actually click this, and click this, and can open up and can directly go to the details about the text support of this particular picture, the video support of this particular picture, and other graphical and web content support of this particular picture. Yes, we can do that. And I will just show you one application that is written over here. Probably you can see it is called ThingLink, which is nothing but a visual annotation tool. Okay, similarly, we have other annotation tools also, which are very voice in nature, which are auditory in nature, that we can also use. Fine. So we will just take a look into the ThingLink also. Now, the second thing, apart from this particular thing which is called content, and the content, we have understood that the importance of visuals in the content. We have another thing which we have discussed a lot, which is called the co-creation. Co-creation in learner-centric content design. Now, co-creation basically engage learners. So that scope has to be provided. Okay. So co-creation enriches the content. Obviously, it will enrich the content because, more and more relevant contents are being added. And then there is a combinatorial creativity. So, okay, that allows the learners to, stimulate the lateral line thinking or critical thinking, and to articulate in a very innovative and a creative way, and it builds up the knowledge network. So we as far as the co-creation is concerned, we can use two application tools. One is called the Padlet, which is a graphical collaborative tool, and the second one is a voice thread. The name itself suggests that it is basically a auditory collaborative tool. Those things we can use in our learning content design. So we will take a look into this. But before we end this particular presentation, I would like to share another thing with you, that apart from this Udemy and Khan Academy and Coursera and Upgrade and EDX, all these online platform which are gradually coming up in numbers, it is just multiplying in numbers. Very recently, I got a phone call from one of the platforms called TalentAge. TalentAge, they have collaborated with XLRI Jamshedpur and XIM and XISS. They are delivering courses, so online courses particularly. So what we are witnessing now, that the premier educational institutes like IIMs and the IITs have their own charter. They have their own platform like Nptel, but many of the IIMs and the premier private group of institutes, they are hiring this kind of online service providers, and they're delivering these things. Now, there is a parallel initiatives which is going on, and these parallel initiatives is almost unknown to us. Okay, now two of the most popular publishing house that whose books we often refer. Number one is Pearson. Okay, so no need to introduce Pearson to you. And the second one is McGraw-Hill. Okay, so no need to introduce McGraw-Hill either. And the third one is John Wiley. Okay, so these three are premium publishing houses globally. Now, they have also entered into this digital learning platform. You see this Smart Sparrow, I will show you, just give me a second. Smart Sparrow basically is one of the publishing platform, online learning platform, That was once, initiated by McGraw-Hill. Now it has been taken over by Pearson. Okay, so now Smart Sparrow is run by Pearson. Newton was initially an initiative of the Pearson, which is now taken over by John Wiley. So if I can show you, I can show you this. This is the website of Smart Sparrow. Okay, you can see here. It is smartsparrow.com. So this is owned by Pearson. And in the very home page, you will find, the inspiring the next wave in digital learning, and the solutions, the products, the services, all they are providing, the kind of studio environment that they are providing, the digital learning, experience that they have developed. It is amazing. So the big publishing house, they are also coming in a big way. Okay, because they have realized that beyond this ebook kind of a mechanism, when we talked about the online portal or online format of education, most of the publishing houses, those were into physical publication of books. They thought, okay, let us change ourselves, change the entire orientation, let us be very digital in nature. So they went for the e-books and e-journals, etc. But they thought that even that is not enough. We have to enter directly into this teaching learning scenario. So these are the things which are happening. Okay, so the big publishing houses are also not out of the picture. So we have, McGraw-Hill and Pearson and John Wiley, and in future probably, Elsevier and Sage and Springer can also leap into this particular platform. Possibilities are there. Another thing that I would like to show you is another thing was DalMOOC. DalMOOC is basically the full form of DalMOOC is the digital assisted learning, digitally assisted learning MOOC. Actually, they use the learning analytics, and when I went through this DalMOOC, a very interesting presentation they have made in their website. If I can show you the website, I can. Yeah, this is DalMOOC. Now, this is the overview, the basics. So you see, there's a very interesting presentation that they have made. The blue pill versus the red pill. It almost remembers me about a movie called Matrix that I saw a long days back, whereby Morpheus, there was a character who was offering the protagonist of the film Neo two options. One was the blue pill and one was the red pill. So one was the world of reality and one was the world of the Matrix, the imaginary part. So here again, DalMOOC used the same concept, and they said that the blue pill is what you are probably most accustomed to in a standard educational setting. That is the physical classroom setting. It is a typical instructor-led course where you will be guided through a linear path of material, videos, and activities designed to give you a focused examination of the content from the expert's view. Interaction is a factor, but not the focus. So they were talking about a very synchronous kind of formula in the blue pill. In the classroom, obviously, it is a synchronous mode. In an online teaching, where the instructor is present and delivering a lecture, that is a very synchronous mode. But what the red pill is saying, the red pill is the reality of the world, of what the world is like. It is similar to workplace group work sessions where you will be given a problem to work on and solve in whatever method you agree upon as a group. So you see, the creativity factor, the lateral line thinking, the critical thinking is encouraged in this particular scenario. This path is less linear. Okay, I showed you one particular slide where we have accepted that the learning process has become very oscillating in nature, very iterative in nature, not linear, with less instructor guidance and more reliance on connections with fellow learners, co-creation. Okay, every time I go back to these factors, opportunity and scope to co-create. And this is the asynchronous mode of learning where the presence of the instructor is not required. Now, obviously, there will be a question, which one is the better, which path is the better? And they have again provided a very interesting question, both and neither. It is all up to you and what your needs are as a learner. So if you need guidance, you can go through the guided path. If you want more interactive, self-determined learning, we often talk about self-paced learning. And in most of the online platforms and MOOCs what are being offered, you will find that you can have a self-paced learning selection or a choice. You can choose the social learning path, or you can mix elements from both. So what is the catch for both of each of these paths? Now, in case of the guided learner path, this will look more like a very traditional learning environment. Okay, so you will be guided by the content and given a chance to test your knowledge by various traditional and experimental tools. Your interaction with other students will not be required. Moving through the content in a predefined linear fashion according. See, when we are developing assignments for our students in online platform, either through the Google form, whereby possibilities are there. You can actually go from MCQs to short answer type questions, subjective questions, grid formulations. Even in Canvas, you have had that opportunity. In Moodle, you are having that possibility. If you use class marker to develop your own assignment, everything is fine, but it is again touching upon all those traditional kind of question answering pattern. How much it is stimulating the learners to think beyond the box, think outside the box, that is a big issue. Okay, and then the other path, the social learning path, will look less ordered. Okay, it will provide much more flexibility. You will be responsible for forming groups to work on problems. You will be self-guided and expected to connect with other students to form support networks. Your interaction with other students will greatly help you, as will sharing your learning process through social media, determining your own method to demonstrate what you learned is the guiding principle. Now, I have just not included one of the graphical thing in this particular slide, but I can just draw it out for you. This particular thing has come out in one of the research papers published in Taylor and Francis very recently by, as I've told you, that one particular person you need to follow very thoroughly. If here, George Simmons. Okay, so this particular model has been provided by George Simmons, how he visualized this thing in terms of co-creation, and he has given a very fantastic model of this. Say initially what he said is so initially what he said is the faculty sorry, it's not working. Probably I need to change it. Yeah, so what he said is initial model was faculty, and then what the faculty used to do, the faculty used to develop core content. So the faculty is to develop a core content, and then the core content was distributed among the learners. Okay. It's creating certain problems. Anyway, you have probably understood the initial model, what George Simmons was talking about, that the faculty, then the core content and the learners. Now, what George Simmons is saying, that apart from that, now what will happen, there will be certain, the peripheral learners. And there, apart from the peripheral learners, there will be the peer groups, the external expert, who will be actually collaborating with this faculty, and the content will be co-created. Okay, in both the end, the co-creation. So peer group, there will be an influence on co-creation of content, which will enrich the core content. Again, the peripheral learners will co-create the content, which will enrich the existing content delivered by the faculty, and ultimately it will go to the learners. So that is exactly what we are, looking forward to, that the entire learning experience will become very collaborative in nature, rather than it is a bipartite kind of a transaction of knowledge and sharing of instructions. It will become very collaborative, very converging in nature. So that's what we are expecting. And while designing MOOCs or while designing courses, you will be at liberty to design your courses in such a way so that it instigates, it stimulates, it encourages and motivates the learners to participate in it, and can provide their own content and their views, so that your content becomes much more enriched. Unfortunately, in the structured MOOCs or the portal or the structured platform that has been designed by UGC in Swayam, we do not have that much of a flexibility, because it is guided by those 4 quadrants, and those 4 quadrants are very rigid. Believe me, since I have developed my own modules, I did not have any other option but to record a lecture of almost 25 minutes. I recorded 8 lectures in my first MOOCs. So those 8 lectures were only lectures with a presentation. So there was a voiceover. The presentation slides came on the screen with minimum amount of animations and multimedia involvement. And then we followed certain very traditional kind of questions and answers. So that is a very rigid kind of a platform. But again, on a counter argument, one can say it is reaching out to a very wide group of students, probably who are who could not complete their course in normal course of time, who are dropouts, etc. But when you are designing your own MOOCs for your own LMS, institutional LMSs, or when you are designing MOOCs for your own students, additional MOOCs or additional courses, there we will have the liberty to use all these innovative tools which are actually present over the net, over the this digital media. You can use the digital media to its fullest extent. That is my basic take on this particular issue while developing a learner-centric MOOC. Now, at this point, if you have any question, you can ask. Otherwise, I will just show you 2 hands-on, as I have told you, to make your presentations very interesting for the learners. As I've told you, I will show you the multi-layered picture kind of a thing, animated picture. Should we proceed to that, or do you have a question at this particular point of time? We can directly proceed, no issue. Okay, so I have got one response. Okay, since this will be, I do not know whether you have already used it or not, since this will be for the first time. But before I proceed on to show that a particular picture, let us, since we are all teachers, let us share something. This is what I feel. I do not know. There can be another view from all of you. As a teacher, I feel that at least it is high time that we subscribe to one licensed software personally, and that is the Microsoft Office. Okay, we cannot use those pirated versions anymore. It doesn't have a huge cost, and at least the scope and integration of the add-ins that you have with the original version of Microsoft Office and the Office 365, which is nowadays available, integrating with the Microsoft 365 Office, so that you can explore the entire resources of add-ons and add-ins over the internet. You can do that. Actually, I recommend very strongly that each and every teacher should at least have one licensed version of Microsoft Office. Okay, to use the fullest power capacity of that application tool. And another thing that I would like to show you, that when you are a lot of teachers over here are actually using flow charts, isn't it? Particularly the science teacher, when they're showing certain operational processes, they use flowchart. Social science teacher, when they're showing certain behavioral issues or trends, etc., they use a flowchart. Flowcharts are an integral part of our presentation. Okay, now when we are designing a flowchart, what you are actually using, in most of the cases we are using what we are opening a Word file, and what we are actually doing is probably you are doing it like this. Suppose we open a Word file. Is the screen visible?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I mean,
No.
no. I mean, there is just a senior slide, the last slide, number 20.
Okay. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when we are drawing a flow chart, normally what we do, we go to this insert and we go to this shape and we actually draw it. And if I want to connect, then I have to again go back, use an arrow. Okay, then again, probably I have to draw another shape. Okay, so again an arrow. So this is basically the process with the help of which we are drawing a flow chart. Are you using something else, or you are following this kind of process? Can you just tell me, any one of you, any additional tools or any additional application that you are using which makes flow chart very easy? Or you are using this kind of graphical elements, whatever is there in the Microsoft Office application?
So I'm using the MS one only, Microsoft.
Okay, I will show you one open source, absolutely free application. That is, the name of the application is I will just write it out. The name of the application is draw.io. Okay, so you can download it and you can use it. Draw.io, draw.io. Okay, so I will just give you a small demonstration of that. This is the icon. Once you install in your machine, this will be the draw.io. So if you click it, it will give you two options. One, if you have only an existing diagram, it can open, or you can go for a create new diagram. So we are clicking this create new diagram, and then you have a whole lot of a template. Okay, so you have basics, then you have business templates, you have charts, you have clouds, you have engineering templates. Yeah.
There are just draw that IO? Like how to
Your voice is breaking. Can you just place the question in the chat box?
Sir, it is not showing whatever you are saying that.
Oh, okay. Let me share my entire screen then. I was just okay. So, is it visible now?
yes,
The
sir, now
screen?
it's visible. Yeah,
Okay, I'm just starting from the very beginning. So this is the basically the icon of draw.io. So if you open it, it will be showing a dialog. Create a new diagram or open an existing diagram. So if you have an existing diagram already, you can open it and you can modify it. Otherwise, you go for create new diagram. And when you go for a create new diagram, you will have a number of templates. Okay, so you have the basic template, you have the business template, the charts, the clouds, the engineering templates, the flow charts over here, different kind of flow chart. You can actually click it and open it up, or you can have maps, you can have networks, other things are there. Okay, so let us just go to a basic and the blank diagram. So let us create one just blank. Okay, so on the left hand side you will be having something which is very similar to what you are using in Microsoft Office. Okay, all these things which are they are very familiar to you. Okay, these are the general shapes, and there can be certain advanced versions also, but I will give you a very small demonstration. Suppose I want to create a flow chart. I want to just drag a rectangle. So if you just click it, it will come. Okay, and I want to connect this rectangle with another rectangle. So you are connecting a rectangle with another rectangle, and I want to insert a node. Okay, suppose a diamond shaped node I want to insert in between these two. Now you see the interesting part. If you just single click over here, it will be selected, and arrows in the 4 directions, it will just guide you. You just click this arrow and connect this. See the bending of the arrows in you can just imagine in Microsoft Word how much effort you have to put to make the arrow bend. Okay, now from here to here again, you just follow this arrow. Okay, so you click this arrow and just drag it here. And if you want that it should be like this, it should be like this, it will be like this, and you can draw the arrow and join it here. Fine. Now the one of the most interesting thing about this particular flowchart designer, which you can use in your content, which you can use in your presentation, is the provision to add an actor. So there is an actor symbol. So you can actually add an actor over here. So if you feel that you are actually showing certain behavioral flowchart, or certain flowchart where actors are very important, you can define the actor. Who is this particular actor? Is he a person who represent a self-help group, or an NGO actor, or a banking personnel, or a student, or a customer, whatever, you're a businessman, a sales representative? You define this particular actor, and you can actually replicate this actor also. You just Control V and Control C and Control V. So how these two actors are interacting with each other. So I can go for a very easy kind of very easy kind of an arrangement of this flow chart. So if I feel that this particular arrow should also connect this circle, we have to select this particular thing. You see, once we are selecting, this arrow is there, and I feel that this is to be connected also, this can be connected. And if we feel okay, this circle is also connected to this rectangle, it can be connected. Now, another interesting part is how to make it more colorful. So if you double click it, if you just double click it, you will have on the right hand side, you will have everything. Sorry, the font style, the font size, okay, the whether it will be bold, whether it will have middle orientation, everything that you get in a word application navigation tool at the top of that particular application. Now if I single click it, then we will have all the color templates. So if with the tap of mouse, you can actually change the colors. So you can have multiple colors, you can choose your gradients, and then you can, it's so very easy. Now if you compare it with what you used to have earlier, in the Microsoft Office, then probably it is much more easier, creating a flowchart. Actually, I can show you one of the flowcharts that I created. Probably I can show you. Yeah. So this flowchart I created for one of my PhD coursework classes. So that was how the theoretical models are being proposed, or what is the flowchart with the help of which we are going for the theoretical model proposition. So from assorted sources, we are going for research problem identification, and from research problem supported by literature reviews. And these are the nodes where the cross tabs are actually working. Identification of variables leading to hypothesis after the literature review. And hypothesis, obviously we focus on the nulls, and these two combine to form the theoretical model. So if you want to insert any kind of tab at any point, if you feel that this particular point requires a tab, see, automatically it is inserted. So it's not a very clumsy kind of a process that Microsoft Word application allow us to do. So this is one application, draw.io. So that will make your flowcharts very easy, very, very comfortable and very easy. You just drag and drop, and you do not have to think a little bit about whether my arrows are having a straight orientation, linear orientation, or whether it is bent. In Microsoft Word, probably you can recall that those were the basic problems. So my arrows are not straight, etc. Okay, so this is one. And I want to show you another thing with regard to this PowerPoint presentation, because you see, PowerPoint presentation is one of the most powerful presentation tools that we use. In the physical classroom, we cannot animate to that extent, but in a virtual mode, we can use that animation. As I have told you that it is my earnest request that the teachers should at least invest behind this Microsoft Office. Now, if you have an original version of Microsoft Office, you will have one option over here. Is the slide visible?
The previous PPT is visible.
Yeah. So at the top navigation tool, you will find one tab which is called Insert. Okay, so if you click this, there will be another small tab which is yes. Any question?
Sir,
Draw.io, whether it is compatible with MS Word so that we can put the diagrams in the Word. I haven't used it with the MS Word. But you can see from my PowerPoint slide that I have already integrated draw.io with the PowerPoint itself. So one Microsoft Office application allowing the integration of draw.io, probably Microsoft Word will also allow you, but I haven't tried. But what you can do is you can simply take a screenshot and paste it in the Word file. I have done that. Okay. But probably there is a possibility of integration because I have integrated with my PowerPoint, with the MS PowerPoint.
Then we can copy and paste in the Word file also.
Yeah, you can take a screenshot. If you can take a screenshot, go through the paint, and then you can copy it to the Word file.
Okay.
Or you can simply copy it, right click it, copy it, and paste in the Word file. But there will be a possibility of integration. Anyway, I'm just showing it in this application. It should be available with the Microsoft Word also. You see, in the PowerPoint, once you click this Insert tab, you will find an add-in. So if you click this add-in, so you will have this option of Get add-ins, and all those add-ins that you will be actually adding to your MS PPT, that will come under your My Add-ins. So if I click Get add-ins, you will have a number of add-ins. There are many add-ins which are free of cost, but there are certain add-ins may require additional purchase. Whichever is having a requirement of additional purchase, you may please unfollow those. But there are many add-ins that doesn't require an additional purchase. Like for example, draw.io diagrams. You can add it as an add-in that I have already added. Okay, but I want to show some of the add-ins that I am using right now. Say my add-ins are here, and one of the add-ins that is very powerful, and it is very powerful tool when you are taking actually research class, PhD coursework classes, particularly literature review and all that. There is an add-in called Pro Word Cloud, like variable identification that becomes very easy with this. So if I click it, in the right hand side, you will find a window will open. Okay, now I want to create a word cloud. Since in my slide I do not have that much of a text content, but let us randomly take up something which will allow me to have at least something. Okay, so over here, suppose randomly I am just selecting. Okay, off. Say randomly I have selected the entire text. Fine. And then you just click this one, create word cloud. Okay. So you see the word cloud has been generated and automatically it has been copied to the clipboard. Now, if I create a new slide and just I give a command Control V, oh, what happened? It's giving a command of regenerating. So let us. So if I just click it, and if I go to this particular page, so you see the word cloud is actually created and it can be inserted in my page. Now, when you are actually delivering a course on, say, literature review, and a number of research scholars, they are reviewing a lot of literature, so it will be a very gigantic kind of a text. So it is very important for the researchers to identify the very frequently used words, which can be identified as variables or which can be identified as the most frequently used terms in those research works. So you can create a word cloud with the help of this kind of add-ins. Okay, so this you can insert, you can go here, get add-ins, and you can check different types of, for education. You have a number of add-ins. You have document review. You have a number of add-ins. So whatever add-ins you like, or if you feel these add-ins I can be using, you can do that. Okay, so there are a number of add-ins. Okay, and most of the add-ins are almost free. So some add-ins are there which may require additional purchases. You can just neglect those things, but most of the add-ins, you can create a QR code for your content. If you feel that copywriting your code will be very important, so QR code you can assign QR code for your contents also, so that a learner can actually use their scanner to scan that QR code and can enter directly into your course. So these are certain things which you can do. And similarly, in case of Word also, you can click this insert and you can go to these add-ins. Okay, so I have already one or two add-ins over here, like icon drop is a add-in that I have used. Then draw.io, yes, this has been included in the word diagram also. So you can see draw.io I have already incorporated. Okay, so these are the certain things that you can do with the help of licensed version. And we all know, if I get a hold of this licensed version of the software, then I can use this Microsoft online 365, the what is offering me. And this 365 is a very special kind of a tool. Okay, so this is a Microsoft 365 application. This is not the normal slide that we are having. Okay, so I need to close this. So over there you will have this provision. If you get a hand on this, then you can do that. Anyway, I told you that I will be showing you one particular thing, that is a multi-layered kind of a PIP, the picture in picture or picture in video or picture in text, like that. So let us go very slow with that so that everyone can understand. Okay, so we talked about something which is called thing link. Okay, so I am just this is my page. So if I just go back, let's start from the Google itself. So what you need to type is THINGLINK, thing link. Okay, now if you enter, so this is the thing, thinglink.com. So you can enter here. And since I have already logged in, there is a very small, you can do on your own. There is a very small exercise of getting yourself registered with the free version. So you can create that thing by providing your email ID, and there will be an activation code. You can easily activate it. And this is basically the dashboard, or this is basically the window, first window. Okay, now say there is an option in the overhead navigational panel. There is an option called create. Okay, so if I tap create, it opens up a number of possibilities, like upload an image, upload a video. If you have a 360-degree, visually augmented image, you can do that, or you can upload a 360-degree video, augmented reality or virtual reality kind of image. So let us be very simple. Let us upload an image. Okay, so I have one image, say this one, say mangrove. Open it. So it will open the image. Okay, so what it is showing a picture of a mangrove. So this basic picture will give a hint to the learner that the instructor or the teacher is trying to take them through the different aspects of a mangrove plantation. Okay, and if you want to be very specific, and if you want to address the learners how the super cyclone Amphan has impacted the mangrove of the Sundarbans, you can do that. You can be very specific about this, but your initial picture, your initial graphic will be able to convey certain clue or signal or certain idea to the students of what the instructor is trying to say, or in which direction the instructor is trying to take them. Now, on the left hand side, you will find one particular tab which has been highlighted, which is called an add tag. So you just click it. Okay. Now, you will find the moment you have add a tag, you will have a tag sign on the graphical representation itself. So a layer has been already created, and if you see the visual now, the picture now, it has become almost a translucent kind of a picture. So the second layer has been already added. So if I click over here, so what I want to add text and media. So if I am clicking here, you see, it is giving me a provision. What is that provision? Change icon. Do I want to change the icon? Remember, in the first place, when I added tag, a simple, a plus sign or a plus symbol came to the picture. So when I click this add text and media, it is allowing me to identify whether I am interested in a specific icon which represent what kind of tagging has been done. So if I click this change icon, say I want to make a layer of a video. So this is the icon of a video. So if I click it, it will give me certain colors. Say I am selecting one of the bright colors, so that becomes easily visible. So I have created this one. Okay. Now the title, you can select your own title. I am giving a random title, the mangroves of the Sundarbans. Okay, so this is the title. This is an optional field. A description, you can provide a description also. And then there is a very important thing which is called the URL. You have to add the URL over here so that the layer is created, the video layer is created. Say, for example, I have already opened one YouTube channel. So this is a particular, small clip of the Sundarban mangrove. So you can find any relevant, picture that you can also have. You are having your own videos while going to the field work. Probably you have collected certain videos. You can also attach them. So what I will be doing, any relevant video, I will be copying the link. So the link is in the search bar. So Control C, and you can go back to your, thing link. And over here, you just paste it. Okay. So you see, immediately it has taken up this youtube.com. So the source has been immediately recognized. Okay. So after you are pasting this particular link, there is an option at the top which is called done. You just click it, it will be done. Now you see there is a video symbol because we have changed the icon, because we have inserted a video. So you just drag it here so that it becomes very convenient, because the layout of your content is very important. As I have told you in the slide presentation, it is not only the richness of the content, by the stylizing of the content, how you are presenting the content in front of the students. Okay. Now say I want to add another tag. Okay, add text or media. Say this time I want to add certain text. Okay, certain news items or something like that. So this is the symbol of an open book. Since we are dealing with text, we probably can use this book. Again, I'm going for this very vibrant color. Now title, impact of, say, Amphan on the mangroves. Say this is my general idea. And if I search Google, say if I use Google, and if I say impact of Amphan on mangroves, if I want to, catch hold of the learner's interest, I am just guiding the learners. Otherwise, what happens on the internet, there are nth number of, things. Okay, but I want to find out the most authentic kind of a thing, most useful resources, so that the students and the learners do not have to scamper here and there and engage themselves in a web scraping mode to find out what is important. So I can, there is a PDF file, Sundarban Mangroves. This is a research gate. That means it's a publication. So if I click it here, probably this is a downloadable, freely downloadable and shared kind of publication, Sundarban Mangroves, post Amphan and overview. So what I can do is I can select this particular link and can copy it. I can again go back to ThingLink. Again, you see the URL, you just paste the URL and then you click done. Okay, so once you are done, you will find a textual content item icon has been added. So let us place here. So 3 layers have been created. The first layer is this layer, the original picture, which talks about the mangroves. So it talks about the content of my delivery. Then the second layer, the students can directly click here and enter. They don't have to go anywhere else, because this click will guide them to enter in certain places. And then this textual layer. Let us create another layer, say add text and media. Change icon. Let us add an image. Already there is an image, so let us add another image. So again, we can add titles, say biodiversity of mangroves. Okay, and then we can write a description about it. I want to draw an image directly from here, which I have stored. So let us open it. Okay, biodiversity of image. Okay, now if I want to add some additional URL, say I am going here and I am just typing out in the Google biodiversity of the mangroves. Okay, now the biodiversity of the mangroves, say for example, like biodiversity of mangroves, the climate, say I'm randomly selecting a particular thing. Again, let us copy this particular URL, go back to your ThingLink, you just do it. Now, what we have done just now, we have added a picture plus we have added a web reference. So we have created a layer inside a layer, then a layer inside that particular layer. So it is already a double layered within a particular layer. So go for done. Okay. So once you are done, suppose you have placed these 3 icons, you have created 3 layers, then you just click this particular button, which is saying done. You just click it. Okay. Now you see this particular content is ready for the instructor. See, this is the primary picture. This is the, you can say, the original picture. Let me just zoom it in. Zoom it out, and you will find with the original pictures there are 3 icons which are very interactive in nature. Okay, so if I click this first one, the first icon, this first icon was the YouTube icon. So it will directly take my learner to this particular thing. The learner don't have to find anything. It will directly take him to this particular YouTube video. So from where it is taking directly from the first layer of the picture. The second layer of the picture, we have created a content. Okay, we have given a ResearchGate publication which has been published in the ResearchGate. So if you click, it will directly proceed you there, and you will have the download option. And the third one, which is very interesting, we have created something which is called a picture, and then we have clubbed it with certain web referrals. So the picture will be an indicative of what we are about to say. biodiversity of the mangroves, and if we click it, it will open up, biodiversity of mangroves. So this becomes a very handy tool for most of the presenters to make your presentation very, very robust in nature. Okay, so if I go back to the normal size, probably you can see over here there is a share option. Can you see it over here in the right hand corner, top right hand corner? There is a share option. So if I click share, it will give me a number of option. There is normally what I do when I go for my Canvas LMS, I normally copy this embedded code, then I place it into the HTML editor, and the entire thing is embedded in my classroom. So you have the option. You can go for embedded media. You can share the link. You can copy this link and you can paste it to your Google Classroom. The students can be directly, having access to this, or you can, publish it to the social. The most important development of ThingLink is the first two icons. These were not there. These are recently added icons. You can easily identify that this is the Microsoft Team and this is the Google Classroom. So you can directly publish to your Google Classroom, or if you are using Microsoft Team as a video conferencing platform, you can go there. Or if you are having a Facebook page of your own, you can go there. You can create a Facebook page of your class also, a particular semester or a particular group of students. There you can place it also, because we are not using social network with our learning system to that extent. Or you can go for, download in an offline mode, etc. So normally, if you want to integrate this thing with your LMS, go for the embedded code. If you want to just share the link with your students in various platform, you can share the link with the WhatsApp. If you have a WhatsApp group of your student, if you have a Google group of your student, if you have the LMS, you can paste the group. Even you can share the link in their email. If you do not have all these things, you can share the link in their email, or you can publish it to your social presence. You can use Google Classroom directly. You can go there, or Microsoft Team, then this Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest, whatever, Dropboxes, whatever you are having, and whatever shareable access the students might be having on behalf of you. So this is a very powerful kind of content designing tool. You can do what I have shown you, very simple 3 issues. There can be a lot of layering that you can done. Considering the major picture, it helps you in teaching also. Suppose you are teaching with the help of this. So you do not have to go to multiple windows and search for things. With the help of a click, this click will guide you to the window and to the specific page only, so that you do not have to search, because you have already done the hard work. You have embedded all the things over here. That's very nice, and that's very comprehensive, and time saving, both for the learners as well as for the instructors. Okay, so this is all about ThingLink. Okay, so there is another one which I told at a particular point of time, mentioned, that is called a Padlet. Okay, but probably for today's session, I think this is enough. Tomorrow we can take up Padlet. Okay, so Dayada, can we end?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so any question at this point of time I can answer, or I shall be available to you in the second session tomorrow also, whereby we can take up this Padlet and voice thread, and in addition to how to design courses for the MOOC, how to launch courses for the MOOC. So I can take up questions tomorrow also, no issue. You can think about it. You can use actually ThingLink today. Okay, practice draw.io and ThingLink. You practice these 2 things, and if any difficulties are faced, we can take it up today. Now, one important thing, tomorrow, some of you may disclose that, are you using any LMS? Okay, so that we can integrate the ThingLink content to your LMSs. But as I have told you, if you want to integrate anything with the LMS, you have to identify the HTML editor where it is placed. In Moodle, HTML editor is available. In Canvas, HTML editor is available. In Google Classroom, normally I paste the link, so I can show you how the link can be pasted in the Google Classroom. So those things can be done. Okay, and most of the LMSs like Moodle and Canvas, those two are the two most robust platform of LMSs. They provide the LTIs, the learning tools interoperability. So most of the integration have been done already. So you will not face a big problem. But anyway, I request all of you to try these two things out: draw.io and this ThingLink, so that we can take it up from there. Thank you.